From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Good evening. Hello, everyone. And also, I'd like to wish a very belated Happy Jewish New Year to all of our Hebrew viewers on television who just recently celebrated Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah is actually coming up in a couple of days.
Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yep.
Tuesday and Wednesday.
This coming Tuesday and Wednesday.
Right.
I'm Jaime Hixson. Go on and introduce yourself.
My name is Hector Bosa, the hardest, baddest, sexiest man on cable access to me. Well, you can see me on Sundays, 11 p.m. on Channel 34 with the hottest acts. Yeah, right. Okay, with acts, and great times. But Jamie, a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
No diddle-daddling.
Yeah.
Let's get to it for one moment.
Mm-hmm.
You have a person quitting in the middle of a game.
Brother.
Please explain that to me.
Okay. This we have to talk about because it has been all the rage on social media. Yesterday, week 2 of the NFL season, the Chargers played the Bills upstate. And what happens at halftime? Vontae Davis, who had 6 good years with the Colts and 3 good years with the Dolphins before that, signed with the Bills for this year for $5 million. He was inactive for opening week of the season, and he finally gets activated for yesterday's game. Was having a decent game. Do you know that this fool actually up and quit on the Bills and then decided to retire from football at halftime of yesterday's game? This guy wound up being roasted by everyone on Twitter and all across social media. Now, we've seen plenty of people either retire or quit in the middle of a season. But in the middle of a game, that is about as, I don't want to say low class, but that is about as disrespectful, as a teammate put it so eloquently, as anyone could do towards their team.
You mean as putting a knee down?
Well, that's a whole nother story. He probably would have been better off taking a knee before the national anthem than anything else.
I don't think he has said anything about his retirement at the moment. But let me say this. Until the man speaks, you'll never know what is happening because he could have had a breakdown at that point in time. Or there are some people that just once they start playing right away, right in the middle, they just break down and just go, forget it, I can't do it no more. Even though he was having a great game, 2 sacks and all that other stuff. But
I think there might be a reason why he decided to make his decision the way he did. It's because he suddenly realized he was wearing a Buffalo Bills uniform.
I mean, he was guaranteed a 1-year contract.
For $5 million.
For $5 million. Again, until the man speaks, nobody's going to know what really went on in his head, you know? I mean, people could be bad-mouthing him, memeing him, but until he comes out and says, this is why, people can only think about and assume assumptions that he just didn't want to do it, he broke down, or, you know what, like you said, it's just the Buffalo Bills. You know, he finally realized he was playing for the Buffalo Bills. Nobody's going to ever decide or know until the man comes out, and he better choose his words correctly because we're living in a PC world where I'm getting sick of it as well. You know, you can't. I mean, if Don Rickles were alive today, you can't even joke the way he jokes around because too much of PC.
Shoot, if Richard Pryor was alive today,
no,
he
Richard
would
Pryor
not be
you
allowed
can
to
get
do
it.
what he
No,
was doing.
Richard Pryor you can get away with, but Don Rickles, the Don Rickles humor, you can't get away with. Andrew Dice Clay humor, you can't get away with. There are certain, if you call, let's say, have a joke about a retard, right?
Mm-hmm.
You say retard, that's bad.
Yep.
You know, little person, that's bad. You know, you can't say midget anymore because that's PC. That's too plastic, and so forth. But if you have a joke about it, that's a whole different ballgame. Now, here's something else. Nike stock went up. Even though,
How ironic.
and they actually had their own shoe type where they have the burning on the shoe. They're actually selling those, I think. But it's kind of funny that Nike stock went up. But a lot of people must really. They had a thing on ABC, on CBS, where I think I brought this up already, where they asked this couple, do you agree or disagree with the knee? The wife said yes, the husband said no. So people are 50-50 or 60-40 down the line on each side of it. But what he did was, did they win by some chance? Did the Buffalo Bills win?
They lost 31-20.
Explain that. Show that game. Explain that game to people.
Well, bottom line was Phillip Rivers wound up having an outstanding game yesterday, and the running game was even better. And Buffalo finally decided to do the right thing, and that was to start Josh Allen at quarterback. Josh Allen is their number 1 draft pick from Wyoming.
Right.
Didn't necessarily have a shining moment for himself.
Now, do they have a good what is it? What's good about them? What's bad about them?
What's good about Buffalo?
Yeah, what's good?
The running game.
Bad?
They have a really good running game with LaShawn McCoy. What's bad about them is the inexperience at quarterback.
Okay.
Because Josh Allen just started his first NFL game yesterday. And who's his backup? Nathan Peterman. The same Nathan Peterman who threw 5 interceptions in his debut last year and threw 2 more last weekend and wound up getting benched in the Baltimore game.
Let's try to go down the line with the football games quickly. Jets. Did they win? Did they lose?
The Jets had a golden opportunity to make a name for themselves. They had their home opener against the Dolphins yesterday. All of the hype was surrounding Sam Darnold in his home opener against a really passionate fan base that has done nothing but cry in their beer year after year.
That's true.
And what happens?
Even that fireman came out of retirement.
Fireman Ed Anzalone was at the Detroit game, I might add, in addition to being at yesterday's home opener.
Exactly.
But what happened? Not only did Sam Darnold throw 2 interceptions, but they had a golden opportunity. I think maybe, they had a golden opportunity to make things interesting at the very end of the first half. But Darnold not only overthrows a receiver who was wide open in the back of the end zone, he winds up throwing to a guy who winds up getting stopped at the 1-yard line on the very last play of the first half, and the Jets get denied an opportunity to score. And then when the Jets capitalize on a Dolphin turnover, what happens?
What happened?
Sam Darnold throws a pick in the end zone. Not only did the Jets not capitalize on their opportunities, number 1, number 2, they did not make the most of a rather so-so showing by that Dolphins offense.
Do you believe the hype when it comes to
Sam Darnold?
Yes.
Sam Darnold is going to be a really good player for them, but we need to temper our expectations of this kid. Do you know that there were Jet fans that were claiming Super Bowl after the Detroit game? I'm like, calm down. He just played 1 game and you're already anointing him to be better than Joe Namath.
Yeah, that's true. Willie Joe Namath, Broadway Joe.
Now, let's see what the Jets can do on short rest, because they've got 3 days to prepare for the Browns on a Thursday night.
Okay, what was good about the game? What was bad besides the 2 interceptions? Was their defensive bad? What
was good about the game was the fact that the Jets were able to create a couple of turnovers and keep the game at least a little bit close. But what was really bad were the blown opportunities. And it wasn't just the picks that
Was
Darnold
it
threw either.
defensively or was it more
Defensively,
offensively or defensively?
It was a lot more offensively than defensively. They didn't capitalize on opportunities. And Terrell Pryor, the receiver who they signed for this season, who had a pretty solid year with the Browns a couple of years ago, only caught maybe 1 or 2 passes, and he dropped 2 big throws from Darnold that could have been the difference in this game.
There were turnovers too in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And now Miami, did they play as good as on paper as they are? Or should they be?
Miami is going to be a really good team this year. I mean, I'm no fan
Because right now Miami's in first place.
Yeah.
Let me go down the list for a second. Miami's in first place. New England's in second place. Jets are in second place. Buffalo
brings up
is
the rear.
is in the rear right now. So
I'm telling you right now that's going to change. The Patriots are going to win the division hands down. As long as Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are on the same sideline,
Broncos
that is not going to change. Miami is going to be decent, but what's going to do it for them is going to be defense. Defensively, they were really solid yesterday. I think they got much deeper at running back because now they have the 14-year veteran Frank Gore, who's now what, 34 years of age? 34 years of age. Do you know he's the 4th all-time leading rusher in NFL history now?
I can see.
This guy's going to the Hall of Fame. He's had a really, really good career.
Gore.
So running back depth, defense, and also I think they've gotten a little bit better at receiver and also at tight end. If Ryan Tannehill cannot make any mistakes, like how he played yesterday, except for when he accidentally dropped the ball, which turned into that turnover. If he can play mistake-free football, I think the Dolphins might be a wild card.
Okay, now I see here that in the East, it's Washington in first place, Philadelphia is tied for first, Dallas is tied for first, and
then the
Giants are
Giants.
bringing up the rear with 0-2 record. Now, that being said, it was Dallas versus Giants. What was the good points of both teams? What were the bad points? Start with the bad points first.
Well, the bad points
Was it penalties?
Actually, there really weren't that many penalties called in this game. What's really good about what Dallas did yesterday is Dak Prescott throwing the ball the way he did. He was throwing darts towards his receivers. Everything was precision. He had accuracy. He had zip on his throws. Right. That's number one. Okay. Number two, Ezekiel Elliott shredded the Giants' defensive line yesterday to the tune of almost 100 yards in carries. That was another thing. And also, even though they don't have Dez Bryant as their number one receiver anymore, I think Dak could take any one of the guys that they have right now, specifically Tavon Austin, who's a really good receiver, and make them really, really important for their offense. And defensively, the quickness that they showed in burning that Giant offensive line was just shocking. Everybody points to the Cowboys' defense being a real weakness for them, but I saw a lot of quickness from their down linemen. I think they're going to give a lot of teams some problems this year.
What about Dallas? What about Giants, though?
Oh, brother. Right now,
bad points first, please.
Bad points first.
Just to give people hope, let's do the bad points first.
I just find it funny that Chris Collinsworth, who was doing commentary for NBC, was not pointing the finger at the Giant offensive line that much. The Giants' offensive line gave up 6 sacks yesterday. That is an indictment of a supposedly rebuilt offensive line. That's number one. Number two, their starting center is now gone for the rest of the year because he broke his ankle. And that's the kid that I told you about, John Jalapeno, who went to Florida and bounced around between 4 or 5 different NFL teams and a minor league team where he played in 4 years ago. Now he's gone for the rest of the year, which means the Giants have to fix their offensive line again. But the good points to the Giants, number one, Saquon Barkley is going to be a real star. His ability to break tackles is just outstanding and astounding. Have you seen the way he's been working out on video?
Yeah.
He's got thighs on him the size of New Jersey.
Yeah.
He is that powerful. Obviously, doing all of those squats is working out for him.
Yeah.
He's got so much body strength to him. There isn't one single guy who tries to get a tackle on him the first time that has been able to bring him down.
So the Giants did the right thing by picking him.
Oh, of course.
So where do you see? Well, how do you see Eli Manning right now?
Eli still has a chance to right the ship. I mean, he's only had 2 games. Let's see what he can do in his next contest, though, because that's going to be a little bit tough for him.
Okay, because going down the line is Jacksonville 2-0, Tennessee 1-1, Indianapolis 1-1, Houston 0-2. That's in the South. Cincinnati in the North is 2-0, Baltimore 1-1, Cleveland 0-1-1. And Pittsburgh 0-1-1. The West, Kansas City 2-0, Denver 2-0, Chargers 1-1, Oakland Raiders 0-2. I said the East is Washington and 1-1, Philly 1-1, Dallas 1-1, New York Giants 0-2. In the South, Tampa Bay 2-0, Atlanta 1-1, Carolina 1-1, New Orleans 1-1. In the North, Green Bay 1-1 tie, Minnesota 1-1 tie, Chicago 0-1, Detroit 0-2, and in the West, LA Rams 2-0, San Francisco 1-1, Seattle 0-1, and Arizona 0-2. But I wanted to ask you, since we're going down the line for a moment.
Funny you mentioned that you mentioned the standings from AFC to NFC. You want to hear a really funny story?
Shoot.
And as we speak, we have page 3 of the Advances sports section from yesterday.
Yes.
The Chiefs came up with probably the biggest win that any team could get the second week of the season. And it was against the Steelers in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
With Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. Patrick Mahomes threw 6 touchdowns yesterday.
Look at that.
He is in his second NFL season. He backed up Alex Smith last year, held the clipboard. I'm not saying that this is the right way for a team to groom a quarterback, but it just so happens that
That's
this kid...
the normal tradition to make the kid hold out.
I'm not saying I agree with it, but there's just something coincidental about a kid who holds the clipboard his rookie year and then finally gets the keys to the car handed to him, and he winds up coming on like gangbusters.
Look at the kid from Dallas. He did it for a year, too.
Dak Prescott had to start his rookie year because Tony Romo was hurt again.
So look what
the Cowboys
happened.
caught lightning in a bottle with Dak Prescott. The Chiefs are the exact same way. The Chiefs are 2-0 now, and they've wound up with 2 crucial wins the first couple of weeks of the season.
Because I wanted to ask you, Bucks win against the Eagles. What do you think of that game?
Who saw Ryan Fitzpatrick leading the way for the Buccaneers again? And also, did you see his press conference afterward? He looked like John Travolta's character in Saturday Night Fever on the dance floor.
Well, hey, so this hair, manly hair, his beard and all,
I can't help but laugh.
It was a good game.
Yeah, it was a very good game.
Fitzpatrick now, do you regret getting rid of him?
No.
Should the Jets regret getting rid of him?
No. The Jets had to move on. They needed to look towards their future. Ryan Fitzpatrick was the past for them.
Okay, the Saints versus the Browns, 21-18.
Yeah, this not only did the Saints get a big win, but once again, the Browns cost themselves a victory because of lousy place kicking.
Now, this is a team that has how many number one draft picks and still can't get it right?
Quite a few. And it's
And
not
they-
like this year's team is terrible. I mean, the first couple of weeks they've gotten a tie and a very close loss. Do you know what happened after the game, though? Here's a really funny story. This took place earlier today on the streets of
Oh,
Cleveland.
yeah.
There were fans on the streets of Cleveland literally auditioning to be the next place kicker for the Browns.
That's only happened once where a guy came off the street.
Vince Papale.
Yeah, that was the only one. I don't know if they still do that. Do they still have open?
Technically, yes. But usually they look for someone who's got a little bit more football experience to them.
Because
And
that,
for the
that
record,
was
Vin-
a miracle.
Yeah.
That was a miracle in itself.
Yep, and he wound up being the subject of a movie that Disney did. It's called Invincible.
Yeah, what's his
And he
name?
wound up playing 3 years, Vince Papale, with the Eagles.
Yeah, he played with quarterback shoulder pads because
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't deal with it. But the Chargers 31, Bills 20.
Yeah, the Chargers basically it's breaking even for the Chargers, but that's like night and day there. The Chargers were just more superior at quarterback with Phillip Rivers, a guy who just does not seem to be slowing down anytime soon. Not only that, the Bills are a complete and utter train wreck. I mean, aside from LaShawn McCoy and maybe one or two extra weapons offensively, what do they really have?
And the Bills?
The Bills are a train wreck. The Chargers at least have a few more prospects
don't
going for
give
them.
the
Some
Bills a
say that they can actually reach the Super Bowl. I'm not really sure about that, but I think the Chargers can probably contend for a wild card spot.
You don't give the Bills a chance.
No chance whatsoever.
Okay, Falcons 31, Panthers 24.
Big win for the Falcons after their disappointment in Philly. And now the Panthers, I still see them as a real threat in the NFC, specifically in the South Division.
Right.
Them, Atlanta, and New Orleans could easily take the South Division title this year. The Panthers, because of great quarterback play and really good running back play.
Titans 20, Texans 17.
The Texans are going to be the Giants' next opponent, as it turns out. The Titans are going to be a really serious threat because Marcus Mariota is the quarterback, and he has been one big play after another for them. He's really stepped his game up in the last 3 or 4 years.
How do you see the Giants against them?
I think the Giants are going to have a lot of problems because Deshaun Watson is now back at full strength and quarterbacking the Texans. And he's a kid who not only throws the ball really well, he also has really good footwork. He's very quick. And the Giants have major problems with quarterbacks that have quick feet. I mean, notice what happened in the Cowboy game last night.
Colts 21, the Redskins 9.
That was a big win for the Colts, especially after having their heads handed to them by the Bengals. Andrew Luck was able to reestablish himself a little bit.
Threw 2 touchdown passes, of 2 interceptions,
Mm-hmm.
But Rams 34, Cardinals 0.
Yep.
Wow.
The Rams are the best team right now. I would say the Rams are probably the best team in the NFC. I think they're even better than the Eagles or the Packers because the Rams have youth at quarterback. They have a really powerful running game, really strong set of receivers, including one guy, Brandon Cooks, who they acquired in a trade over the summer. The Rams really strengthened themselves. Plus, they're still dangerous defensively. Look at what they did to the Cardinals yesterday.
How do you see the Cardinals?
The Cardinals are bad. They are really bad. Number one, they have Sam Bradford at quarterback, and they're using him instead of Josh Rosen, a kid who I feel should be taking the snaps from center immediately. But knowing how these coaches think, they want to be able to bring these kids along slowly. So they're going to have Sam Bradford in there as their quarterback. Still have a decent running game with David Johnson, but quarterback-wise, they've got nothing at first string.
You got to remember also they're trying to protect their jobs as well.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing that people still forget, that, you know, they have to protect their jobs. They have to worry about themselves. 49ers 30, Lions 27.
That was such a huge win for the 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo,
2 touchdown passes.
2 big touchdowns yesterday. And once again, the Lions stubbed their toe under Matt Patricia as the new head coach.
How do you see the Lions? How do you see the 49ers right now?
The 49ers are going to be a real problem for people. They're so much better at quarterback, strong at running back. They don't have a number 1 receiver, though. I mean, they have Pierre Garçon, who's a proven veteran, but he's really getting up there in age. I think they need a young guy who they could really make a franchise receiver. Defensively, they're going to be a lot better.
What did you think about the game in general? What was it?
Much closer than people give them credit for. The 49ers had a double-digit lead, but then the Lions got a late touchdown, and they were able to capitalize on a 3-and-out to get the ball back, but it just was not enough for them.
As some people like to say, the Jaguars. The Jaguars. 31, Patriots 20. That's something.
The second best game of the day yesterday. And it turns out, who was the star of the game? It was not Tom Brady. It was Blake Bortles, who wound up throwing 4 touchdowns. Finally, Blake Bortles is rounding into the quarterback that all of the experts thought he should have been 3 or 4 years ago.
Sometimes it takes time.
Yeah, it does.
For people to get themselves going.
And he might be playing for a new contract, too, because he's in his walk year.
Now, how did you see that game? Was it a good game?
Very good game.
Was it a botched game?
Very good game. The Jaguars capitalized on a lot of mistakes made by the Patriots offensively, uncharacteristic mistakes that were made by the Patriots, so much that Tom Brady was seen on the sidelines yelling, "Do your job, do your job."
Oh, wow.
And he's long had a reputation for being really, really animated on the sidelines.
Yes, he has had he's a piece of work, let's say. But still sticking to football, the Tottenville JV, look at this.
Yeah, we had some high school action over the weekend. And in the junior varsity circuit, Tottenville won 20-6 over Curtis.
Isn't that something? Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice?
These are the kids that are going to try and pick up the slack for the upperclassmen in the next year or two.
Yes, and hopefully they'll do the. I wonder how many kids went from JV to varsity.
There have been a few kids who actually skipped JV and went straight to varsity. And those were the diamonds in the rough.
Yeah, they are, and that made it to the pros. That's a good one.
Oh, there were quite a few.
But also, in Major League Soccer news, Red Bulls and DC draw. They go to a draw, as you can see here. They go to
this is in the nation's capital. The score was tied at 3 at the end.
They couldn't do no more, no less. And they can't go into overtime because God only knows, passing the ball around and so on.
Yep. It was Bradley Wright Phillips that wound up salvaging a tie for the Red Bulls. And guess who starred for DC United? Who, by the way, are one of the original flagship franchises of Major League Soccer. Does the name Wayne Rooney ring a bell?
Yes.
Wayne Rooney is the longtime star of Manchester United and I think either Everton or Fulham. And he wound up deciding to bring his talents to the States, and he's been starring for DC United all season.
Now, is he too old, or is he pretty young still?
I still think he's a young guy.
Okay.
I think he's around his mid-30s, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Well,
Some would consider that old, but I still think of it as young.
they're making a big hoo-ha about the Islanders winning their exhibition opener.
Yeah, you know why? Because they played the game at the Nassau Coliseum. The newly reconstructed Nassau Coliseum.
Breaking news: Pats trade for Josh Gordon.
Yep. Josh Gordon, who was on the verge of being released by the Browns because supposedly he wound up falling off the wagon again, has instead been traded to the Patriots for a conditional 5th-round draft pick.
That's something to see, you know. And also the baseball,
Yeah.
Hell in a Cell.
Hell in a Cell last night. And
Even the fight, the boxing match
Mm-hmm.
with I forgot the names now. It was supposed to be a great match. Oh, what are the names? Anyway, it just boggles my mind. But I heard that Hell in a Cell was pretty good.
yeah, Brock
so
Lesnar came back and wound up attacking both Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns
that was
inside the cage.
That was a surprise ending. The stupid part that I found very dumb is the fact that the Shield came out. Here they are in an enclosed case, and they're fighting on top of the cell. Then Ziggler and Rollins fall in the middle, and the Ambrose and so forth. They're up there, and all of a sudden you see a smaller because he's not huge anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He's Bob. What's his name again? Oh my God, I forgot his name. Anyway, he's smaller now. He's not huge, and he kicked the damn door down, and I'm going, this is incredible because you can't. In the first match, the way he lost was Braun Strowman coming out, and he puts around in the match. Now he does the same thing, and they called a Hell in a Cell a draw because they couldn't fight anymore. Now, New Day won.
Yeah.
The Miz and The Miz and his wife Maurice won.
Yeah,
that I didn't like. I wish
they own Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella.
I think they should have won. I don't know how the story's going to go, where they're going to take the story. AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe, controversial ending. One thought that they tapped out. The referee counted 3. It's going to be decided in 3 weeks with no disqualification. Must have a winner. I'm sure there was a lot of other matches, but the Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch was a good match. Charlotte Flair wanted to shake her hand. Becky Lynch said, so they don't know. They're trying to turn her heel, and fans were cheering loudly because she won the blasted match. But that's what it basically boils down to when it comes to the Hell in a Cell. I'm sure there was much more, but I didn't see all of it. So I know that there is a lot of other organizations. There's another one called Major League Wrestling that people should watch, and ROH people should watch, New Japan people should watch, and so on. So that's going to be the case for that. In baseball, Boston is really going out of style with 103 wins.
Long story short, they can actually win against the Yankees tomorrow and win the Eastern Division title. That is how dominant the Red Sox have been for the majority of this season. And they play each other for 3 games in the Bronx tomorrow through Thursday.
And the thing is, you were expecting them to lose or slow down their momentum because hardly anybody in this era wins 100 games. I mean, it's the first time.
Do you know that the Red Sox have never won 100 games in the season before this year? Which is amazing considering that they've had quite a few good teams in the past, but this
Yeah.
is their very first 100-win season.
Okay, going down the line, the Yankees 91. They're 11.5 back. Tampa Bay has no shot. They're 20 back.
Tampa Bay, Toronto, and Baltimore make up the rest of the division.
Oh my God, they forget about it.
Cleveland has already won the Central Division, so they're all set for the playoffs.
And Minnesota is 15 back, and then it's Detroit, Chicago, and Kansas City. I don't think Minnesota has a shot. Who's got a shot at the
Minnesota
wall
has no shot at the playoffs.
Who's got a
this
shot
year?
at the wild card right now?
Right now, it's the Yankees and the A's that are the two wild card teams, and the A's have a pretty comfortable lead for that second spot over Seattle.
Because Houston is in first place with 94 wins, and Oakland's in second place with 90 wins with 4.5. Good God. Who scored? Go!
You're probably wondering what those sounds are. Well, those are actually horns from my NHL app because both the Devils and the Rangers are playing tonight in their preseason debuts in the NHL, and both the Devils and Rangers scored in their respective games.
Seattle 82 wins. They're 12 back. Los Angeles, California Angels. California Angels.
The Angels have been such a disappointment in the last 4 years. All that talent with Mike Trout and Albert Pujols and Andrelton Simmons at shortstop. Yet they have not been able to get any pitching whatsoever.
And
they had Shohei Ohtani for a time, but now he's hurt.
And the Texas Rangers in last
The Texas
place.
Rangers are awful.
So
they're just
god awful.
What
should the? Because Seattle has a chance. No,
a
Seattle
slim chance,
Seattle
but
has.
they're still within a little bit of distance for Oakland for that second spot.
But should they change managers or change players to Los Angeles, California?
The Angels?
The Angels.
From what I understand,
because
Mike Scioscia, who's been managing the Angels, this is his 19th season. He's the longest-running manager in baseball right now.
Yeah.
Supposedly, this might be his last year managing the Angels.
Okay, in the East.
But what the Angels need first and foremost is some pitching.
In the East, you have Atlanta, who's in first place. Philadelphia is 6.5 back. Washington is 7.5 back. And our glorious Mets, who's on 14 back, who...
Yeah, the Mets just came off losing a series in Boston.
And Miami,
2 out of 3.
and Miami's 25 back. Go!
And the Devils just scored.
Ronaldo, but
the Braves have been baseball's biggest surprise this season, leading the Eastern Division. And they've been doing this not just with young players, but with one young player in particular, Ronald Acuna Jr., who has been dynamite this season. He's added power, he's added quickness on the bases, he's added contact hitting. Also, the Braves have gotten some really, really strong pitching.
In the Central Division, you have Chicago 87, Milwaukee 2.5 back.
That's the closest race right now.
St. Louis is 6 back. They could actually do something.
That's the second closest race in baseball right now. Is the Central Division race in the National League.
Pittsburgh, which is 12 back, and
Pittsburgh
Cincinnati
and Cincinnati are
20.
awful.
They can't do anything mathematically.
Well, I
they
shouldn't
can't
say
do anything.
Pittsburgh's awful. I mean, Pittsburgh's up and down between over 500 and under 500, but that's a team that's probably about 2 or 3 years away from really, really contending.
So
Cincinnati is horrendous.
Cincinnati's horrendous.
Cincinnati's horrendous.
They have to rebuild.
They're in the middle of doing a rebuilding mode right now. I mean, they're trying to build with some younger pitchers, but it just does not seem to be working for them.
Oh, wow.
And they've got one big star on their roster, Joey Votto.
Wow. Well, in the Western Division,
That's
you
the
have
best race
far,
right now.
You're right, because Colorado and Los Angeles Dodgers are tied. And Arizona is 4.5 games back. San Francisco is 12.5 back, and San Diego is 22.5 back. Now, you have to eliminate, I'm assuming, San Francisco and San Diego because they're too far back. Mm-hmm. But you have Arizona, the Dodgers, and Colorado.
Yeah.
Now, there has to be a wild card in here somehow.
Yeah, there is.
Who is the wild card? Who do you think? Who do you think will be in first place in that division, and who do you think is going to come out of the
I
wild
still
card?
like the Dodgers because I think their pitching is better, but Colorado has been dangerous the entire season. And Arizona,
They're lucky they didn't trade Bruce Harper.
and that's another thing. We might be seeing the last of Bryce Harper in
Bryce Harper,
Washington.
I'm sorry, excuse me about that.
There have been a lot of rumors about Bryce Harper either going to the Phillies or the Dodgers.
The Yankees.
The Yankees are also
The
going to be a
Yankees are
player.
always in it. In some shape or form, the Yankees, whether they like them or not, they're always in that conversation.
But the hottest rumor right now is Bryce Harper joining Manny Machado
Wow.
on the Philadelphia Phillies. And the Phillies have, except for before the slump that they've been on recently,
Right.
the Phillies were playing some really good baseball. This year, even though they've slumped really badly down the stretch, this has to be considered so much better than last year. I mean, last year they won 66 games. This year they're over 500. If they can get those two sluggers and add maybe a fifth starter, I think the Phillies can contend for the Eastern Division next year.
With the Yankees,
Oh,
what
brother.
what do they have to do to actually win?
What do they do? What do they have to do to actually win? Number one, Aaron Judge has to come back to the lineup.
Stronger than ever. He can't strike out. That's all.
And fortunately, he was able to play a couple of innings in the outfield the other night. That's number one. Number two, get strong pitching performances from their 4 and 5 guys.
Do they
We
sign
don't-
Sabathia too? For
Yeah,
next year?
CC Sabathia looked horrendous over the weekend. And I'm starting to think this could be a swan song for him, meaning the Yankees may have to go elsewhere to get a third or a fourth or a fifth starter. I mean, after Masahiro Tanaka and Jay Happ and Luis Severino, well, fourth and fifth starters are what they need right now. And CC Sabathia has been a real disappointment.
He's money in
season.
the playoffs, though.
He is money in the
credit.
playoffs.
Give him credit where credit is due. He's money in the playoffs.
I want to see what he can do if they get in a playoff series, though. Because if the Yankees were to win the wild card game against
Right.
Oakland, they have to play Boston in the division
Okay,
series.
so let's say Boston wins flat out. Yankees versus who now?
It would have to be the Red Sox.
And then it would have no, and for the wild card it would be Yankees versus
Oakland.
Oakland.
And
now,
Oakland is giving them a lot of trouble.
Now in the National League, who would it be?
Right now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it would be...
Because here's the standings right here. Mm-hmm. Here are the standings right there.
Right.
So if you had to choose between who would go where and what would go what,
Right.
then you would see who would be the first, who would be.
Right now, your division winners would be the Brewers, the Dodgers, and the Cardinals. And the two wild cards would be the Diamondbacks and the Phillies. And at this rate, Arizona, I think, has better pitching than Philadelphia does, although Philly has the better ace who could probably get them over the hump in that wild card game.
Who would you choose?
Let me correct myself.
Who would you choose to win anyway there in that division?
Let me correct myself
Okay.
first. Atlanta, Chicago, and Colorado are the division leaders. Milwaukee is the first wild card, while the Dodgers and the Cardinals are tied for that second spot in the wild card race.
right.
I still like the Dodgers in one playoff game against the Cardinals, and I certainly like the Dodgers to beat the Brewers in that wild card game. And I think the Dodgers can beat the Braves in a division series. The Braves have had major problems in playoff
Now
series in the past.
who's managing the Dodgers now?
It's Dave Roberts, the former Major League player.
Because I feel bad for Don Mattingly. He got you there to the playoffs, but never won the game. He never won. I don't think, did he ever win a championship World Series? No,
Never.
That's another guy.
He never won.
Mattingly
He
was one
never
guy.
won a championship as a player. Did reasonably well in the playoffs though. Won a couple of rounds,
Yeah.
But he wound up being made the scapegoat in that Mets series 3 years ago. And he wound up getting his walking papers. And now he's managing the Marlins. And even in Florida, where they have very little fanfare, he's been getting criticized for some of his substitution patterns.
Oh, wow. David Wright, this is his last year.
Supposedly, yes.
He's not playing
David
no
Wright
more.
is going to play one more game, at least, for the Mets, September 26th, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it would be against the Marlins, the final weekend of the season. Let's see what we have here.
Is Mattingly that?
It would be September 29th. His last game would be September 29th at Citi Field against the Marlins.
Wow. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to show up for that game.
I would like
Just
to
to see-
think
just
so,
to
because
see.
David Wright has done so much for that franchise.
Do you think he retires, or do you think he tries one more time?
Spinal stenosis is such a debilitating disease for an athlete. I don't think it's going to allow him to come back for one more year.
Right.
Speaking of the Mets, anybody who listens to Met games on the radio like I do,
88
Yep.
on WCBS 88 AM.
So
Good
technically, they're
God,
going to be back in the
2025.
CBS family alongside the Yankees. While the Yankees are going to continue to be on the Fan. By the way, the Yankees have a 10-year deal with the Fan
Here's
to have
the-
their games
here-
broadcast,
here-
and the Mets are going to be on WCBS 880 until 2025.
Yeah, here's what I don't get. And that is, everybody wanted the Knicks, the Yankees, the Mets, and the Nets to be on the major stations, WFAN, let's say, and ESPN. And now that they're on FM, which is 98.7 and 101.9, you can hear them in HD.
Crystal clear.
Yeah, you're going to AM, and it's blowing my mind. How are you going to hear them?
With a lot of crackling noises and feedback.
You know, to me, it's. I mean, they must have poured a lot of money into this, boy, because
Yeah, I'm thinking, why didn't the Mets consider at least talking to the people at ESPN New York? I mean,
I would think you
they
would get-
they don't have anything going on during the summers in July and August except for nighttime talk radio.
I mean,
You would think that ESPN would need the programming.
because the Yankees were on 77
Yeah.
AM. Then everybody was praying for them to go to a major station, and they finally did. They went to WFAN, and they had better broadcasting.
Yeah.
Their signal was better. But when I see them in an odd 88, you're scratching your head going, the Rangers, the Islanders, and the Devils, they're on ESPN, right? And
The
they're
Rangers are on
on
ESPN, yes.
And
The Devils and the Islanders share time on WFAN.
Right, okay.
And also, the Devils can also be heard on this website for people in New Jersey. I think it's onejersey.com. And for the record, the Devils just scored again.
Oh, yes.
Devils lead 1-0 over the Canadians. And also, the Islanders, when they're not heard on the Fan, they can also be heard on 970 AM on a station
Yeah.
called I think it's called the Apple.
Yeah, when they have triple, when they
No,
double
the
up,
Answer.
when they have
AM
double
970
up.
is called the
Yeah.
Answer. By the way, that's also the same station where people can hear Joe Piscopo.
Ah, yes.
And that is also the home
Frank
of
Morano.
of our dear friend Frank Morano, who is Joe Piscopo's producer.
I am looking forward to having him on the show if he decides to come on my show, because I know he's done political work and so forth, and I just like to have him on my show just to talk politics. But question:
Right?
this season for the New York Knicks should not be about wins. Should it be about the foundation?
See, I love when reporters like to say that
Should
a
it be about
season
wins
for a
or should
team,
it be about the foundation?
it has to be about wins. I just love how reporters like to
This
make
is
stories about
Fitzdale.
how
This
teams
is
should be
Fitzdale
able
saying.
to
This is
conduct their
Fitzdale.
business.
This is Fitzdale talking.
See,
It's
I
Fitzdale.
hate when they do that. You're gonna sacrifice victories for the sake of trying to build a foundation. You can't build a foundation by victories. I mean, what kind of foundation are you building here if you're gonna sacrifice victories for building a foundation?
I think what he means is you always play to win. You always play to win. You never play to lose. Unless you're trying to get the number 1 draft pick and so forth.
I don't see the Golden State Warriors trying to build a foundation.
That's
I don't
because
see the Celtics doing that.
But look at the team they have. The difference. Remember, they had to start. Danny Ainge made some great trades, and the Nets trade.
Mostly because of some incompetence from the old management.
That was an atrocious trade. But here's the thing: you got to remember, it's not as before. You always play to win, but if you lose, let's say a close game, that's a win for you. Because then you're seeing, just like the Jets, you're seeing how your players are going to be because you're developing your players. Because remember, right now, all those players, the oldest players that you have on that team is Courtney Lee, Lance Thomas, who's 33. Those are your oldest, and Joakim Noah, who's 30, I think, who was 30-something.
You're not going to be seeing Joakim Noah much longer. He's going to get released.
But I'm just saying, those are the oldest players you have. The youngest you have is 18. The 25 or 24, even Porzingis is 23. So you have to remember the age of that team. And most teams that have developed in years always start off with young teams like that. And because it's not New York, you don't hear how bad they're playing. And they go 2 or 3 years playing bad, but they develop players along the way. And there's always these 1 or 2 players that come up, and then during the draft choices and draft picks and drafts in general, or trades, I should say, that team becomes great. Now, again, you always play to win, just like the Nets. The Nets have really good players. Now, will they trade Dinwiddie? Will they trade some of them?
He's been on the trading block for a long time, and it's not because of anything bad he's done. It's because he's that good. He's much better than people give him credit for. And I'll tell you right now, he would look really good as a backup point guard on a championship contender.
Exactly.
I think he could put a championship contender over the top.
It's all Jared Jack signs, I think, with the Pelicans for 1 year.
The New Orleans Pelicans.
Reported Knicks to part ways with Noah. Finally,
it's just a matter of time. They're probably going to do the.
They're trying to kill him off in
stretch
September.
provision.
Yeah, that way the stretch provision only lasts a year.
Yeah, and he's owed $36 million. So they might stretch him out for about 3 or 4 years.
And you also have to remember salary cap. There's another point. Should they get Butler?
Jimmy Butler?
Should they try to go after
Yes!
Jimmy Butler?
Jimmy Butler's an all-star.
Should they go after Kyrie Irving?
He's not my idea of a prototype point guard, but he's the best point guard out there.
Right. And here's something that
I think they should go after Jimmy Butler, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, any free agent that'll play. A superstar player out there.
Now,
do something.
Now with Porzingis, since he has this bad injury, he's got 1 year left on his contract.
They gotta take it easy with him.
He's got 1 year left on his. And next year is his walk year. There's a problem. Do you sign him and hope for the best and expect the worst? Or do you go and say, all right, kid, see you off, and then he goes to another team and blossoms? What do you do with a guy like that?
If it were up to me, see,
These are
this is
decisions.
really hard.
These are
because
decisions that
he
people have to
mangled
do.
his knee really badly, and I'm just afraid of giving a max contract to a guy with such a debilitating knee injury. I just don't know. I can't answer that because I just don't know.
Here's a guy that the one good thing that he has on his side is youth.
Yeah.
That he can't, I mean, most players that have this problem are normally older players. I haven't, except for was it Reggie Jackson that had it? Or Isaiah Thomas? He had the hip problem.
Isaiah Thomas had that debilitating hip injury.
That's another guy that I can't, he's a good guy. I wish he would play for the Detroit Pistons.
Ironic.
Isaiah Thomas comes out. But
has that young man even found a job yet?
Yes, I'm sure he has somewhere. I'm sure he has somewhere, but
because there's quite a few guys who still haven't found work yet, and training camp is really, really close to beginning.
And I'm actually looking forward. I'm actually looking forward to how the Nets do this year and how the Knicks do this year.
I'm looking forward to basketball season in general. Speaking of basketball, did you know that they just
the WNBA. WNBA. Who won the Women's League?
They just had their finals. Seattle won their third title, which means Seattle right now is the class of the WNBA. And, of course, Sue Bird wound up being the most valuable player. And also, Sue Bird actually did something that was pretty brave in the eyes of a lot of people because she declared her homosexuality recently in the media.
Wow. How brave.
Yeah. There is an example of someone who, in the face of all this political incorrectness and incompetent thinking, she still decides to declare her true sexuality.
And
good for her.
No, good for her. I'm just going, it's a shame that you have to say to someone, oh, look how brave she is for coming out. And I'm going, what year are we in?
Exactly.
And Alicia Keys.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how brave she is for not wearing makeup on TV. What? Come on, give me a break, will you please?
Speaking of basketball, they just inducted their new class of the Hall of Fame.
And who's that?
Jason Kidd.
Jade Kidd, yes.
Ray Allen. Steve Nash.
Yeah.
Maurice Cheeks.
Whoa, Cheeks.
Who's now a successful NBA coach.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
He finally became coach.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was an assistant coach for a while there.
Yep. Lefty Drizel, who was a very successful college coach.
Mm-hmm.
And Dino Radja, who was a superstar in Europe before making his way to the Celtics.
What do we expect next Monday? Do you see a shift in baseball? Are we finally going to have winners and losers? Are we going to have who's going to win the division?
Possibly.
And with the football, are we going to see,
I just want to see the Giants win a game.
Is
That's
that
all.
the time we're going to see if they're really winners? Or at what point do you say this is where the winners are?
After the midway point of the season.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got to go. My name's Hector Bosa.
And my name's Jaime Hixson.
Home Invaders Right Show, Sundays, 11 p.m. Check me out. If you want to come on, check me out on Facebook and Twitter. And Jaime?
You can contact us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Snapchat. And you can also see old episodes of ours through those mediums. So that's going to do it for us, folks. Good night.
Thanks.